Yeah, that's what it
But you've got your company.
Yeah.
They take away all the money. They take away all the money for your holding security. Those are the taxes that make up the other
Yeah, I did. Yeah. Things are going well for you. Oh, wow, things are.
Can't recognize it anyway.
No.
Is that Brenda over there? Where's Rhonda?
That's okay. And the kids?
Oh, that's Rhonda over there.
How old are they now?
It's good to see you. Anyway, find a chair.
Not Eric.
How you doing?
Oh, right there.
Last time I she brought us
That's easy to
She didn't go Hey. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's all we got, great. Yeah, changed it down.
So where are you living?
You know what? I'm Burlington. I've got a townhouse there. I've been here for the last 13 years.
And we left them
By your face.
because there were no.
I go, hey, you gotta get from here. Because I don't like this one.
Because you can't.
That's why I thought I had my earrings and I was in Sears and I didn't want to use glasses. Well, I got out of there real fast. that's what I'm like. Eric's very talkative. Everybody else, I know they are. Gigs that I didn't know you noticed.
I know it. Yeah. Oh, now you gotta use that.
Glasses full time. I can see
Nice body there.
Looks the same, sort of high. Oh, that's.
We have, I think.
It's a process.
She didn't know.
How you doing? Haven't seen you since, yeah,
I know it's been a while.
4 years. Yeah.
At
Down
the
to
bar,
Brenda and I.
beer.
Yeah, we have a good time actually. So it's just me and Brenda now. We gotta start to like each other, I guess.
You guys look forever.
Yeah.
Well,
Well, we can go mutual every now and then. That's it.
Anybody else? Because everybody else comes. Eric. I don't want to stand there. Oh, you didn't. No.
He's got lots more hair. Did they do that hair on? I didn't go to that. I didn't go to that guy that glues it on.
I'll get you some super glue. Good seeing you.
Yeah, for sure.
Good morning. We're here today to remember, to give thanks, and to release the life of Robert Duncan Creighton MacDougall, who was born in Oakville the 17th of January 1958 and passed away on the 1st of October of this year. My name is Brad Eager, and I just want to say thank you for letting me be a part of your time of remembering today and to welcome you on behalf of the family. Robert was only 63 years old, but he lived a wonderful life. He's deeply loved, and he'll be missed. Rob was a brother, an uncle, a father, a grandfather, and a dear friend to so many. In talking with the family this week, I got to hear some of the stories of this incredibly fun, talented, passionate, sometimes quirky, very wise man. someone whom people just love to be around. I have no doubt that Rob loved each one of you very dearly and would love that you're spending this time here together today. Rob's is a life well lived. It's one that leaves little space for regret. It's a life that has plenty of stories to be told, and we're going to get to hear some of them today. As we remember Rob, I invite you to let the sadness that he's gone and the happiness of a life well lived come together. And as we do that, I know there's a lot of emotions that come. I know your hearts can contain a lot of grief and sadness today. But I also want to give you permission to smile and laugh. That's not inappropriate. Rob's life and these stories are worth celebrating. And I imagine that knowing his wicked sense of humor, that's exactly what he would want for you all here today. Robert was born and raised here in Oakville, along with his sisters Rhonda, Brenda, and Elsie. He attended E.A. Orr Public School and graduated from T.A. Blakelock High School in 1977. He's the true son of Oakville. That's okay, just take a moment.
So sorry.
That's okay. By the time Rob had graduated, he had started his own roofing business, which he'd been running since the age of 16. And this financed some travels after graduation, as well as his schooling at the Ontario College of Art. After graduating with honors in 1985, Rob became a sports and political cartoonist for the Toronto Sun and the Hockey News. His incredible skill and work ethic led him to become one of Canada's premier sports artists. Having been commissioned by the NHL, NFL, and MLB for different projects, and becoming the official artist of the Toronto Blue Jays in 1993, Rob had many opportunities to work with famous athletes and sports media figures. But Rob's career as a sports artist was only one side of his passion for sports. The other was playing and coaching, especially hockey and lacrosse. Rob started playing lacrosse when he was 7 years old, and he played his way up through the ranks through junior before finishing his playing career in 1981. And after focusing on his artwork for a decade or so, he helped resurrect lacrosse here in Oakville, and he was a pioneer of the Oakville Hawks and the rep program here. He was involved in coaching at all levels and a huge ambassador for the sport across Southern Ontario for 3 decades. And of course, he designed a lot of the team's logos and uniforms along the way, including the Toronto Rock of the NLL. His ability as a coach got him an invitation to join the coaching staff of Team Australia's national box team, which he did in 2003, 2007, 2011. He got to travel the world again and participate in world championships. Rob was named the Ken Murray Award winner for dedication and development of youth through lacrosse. He was inducted as a member of T.A. Blakelock's Hall of Fame in 2005 and the Oakville Sports Hall of Fame in 2007 as a builder in the lacrosse category. This coming together of his artistic ability with his love of sports was the perfect calling on Rob's life. And it's so rare that someone gets to combine their passions in that way and make a living. Rob once said, "Sports have always struck me as magical. There's something within sports that captures us. And at the very center of sports are the athletes themselves. Like any great story, at the heart are authentic and compelling characters. Myself, I am particularly fascinated with the energetic drive and aura of athletics." So there were a lot of accomplishments, but above all these was the love and enjoyment Rob had for his friends and his family. He had a great sense of humor, a bit vulgar sometimes. He loved messing with people, didn't he? I think you can probably take a moment and think about the time he probably messed with you. Save those stories. The family will want to hear them later. But he he loved people, loved his community, and not just people, animals too. Maybe even animals more than people. You were telling me, Shannon, that he's still mourning the loss of the dog he lost in the 70s.
Yeah, who's heard about Schultz?
Schultz, we're still grieving Schultz. Yeah, we can tease him. He certainly teased you guys. Well, as we gather to remember Rob, we're going to get a chance to hear a bit more about that relational side of his life from those who are closest to him. To eulogize someone means to tell the truth about them, to speak kind words about them. And I want to invite his children, Dylan, along with his daughter Jade and Shannon, and to come and share a few words now for us. So, whoever would like to go.
All right. I've been thinking a lot about how to do a eulogy for my dad the past few days, and I don't know, it's really tough, but I look back on all the times that he'd done a eulogy. He'd done so many, been the best man, done so many speeches, so I kind of reflected back on him and what he would do. He wouldn't want it to be a somber mood whatsoever. He'd want to lighten it up. He'd make everyone laugh. So I kind of incorporated part of what he did into what I'm going to do today. And one of the biggest things he always did is he had a prop. He'd always, whatever speech he was doing, he'd come up here with a prop. Grandma's funeral, he had a telephone that he was talking into the whole time, making everyone laugh. His Hall of Fame speech, he had a box of just like endless items. I don't know, the box must have been magical or something. He was just pulling things out of there that didn't belong in there. So anyways, I brought my own prop today, my prop talks though. So this is Jake. Can you reach?
Rob was a wonderful person who filled our hearts with joy. His laughter, love, crazy dad jokes, and his amazing art. Every time I saw him, I would be overjoyed. He showed me so many art tricks. I have this one memory of a few years ago when I was drawing a doll and he showed me how to hold a pencil the way he does. And to just relax your hand and let the wrist do all the work. He was an amazing person to do art with and awesome to be around. With his amazing sense of humor, I'll really miss him.
Growing up, my dad was my hero. To me, he was the best artist, best hockey player, best lacrosse player, coach, and overall dad that there could be. Because of my dad, I had some pretty cool experiences as a kid. He would organize birthday parties for me that were out of this world. I'd have like literally 40, 50 kids there, and it would be crazy. Like, I don't know how my mom put up with it, but I don't know, it made me feel really special. I also met a ton of athletes because of him. I was in countless dressing rooms in the NHL, met my heroes, Doug Gilmore, Wendell Clark, Matt Sundin, just to name a few. When I was growing up, I thought that this was normal life. I thought that I would be meeting a new celebrity every other day, but just because that's how my childhood was. It wasn't until I was older that I realized that that wasn't true. And it's pretty special what I got to experience with him. One story about that was we were in this hotel in Pittsburgh. We're going down there because he was getting, I forget who it was on Pittsburgh, but it was back in like the Lemieux heydays, and he was going to get like Kevin Stevens or Jaromir Jagr to sign a painting for him. So we went down, the Vancouver Canucks were playing in town, and we happened to stay at the same hotel as the Canucks. So after the game, we're on our way up the elevator, and Trevor Linden walks in, and some other Russian guy, I forget who it was, but anyways, I'm sitting there 7 years old, just in awe of this guy. Next thing I know, my pants are around my ankles. Underwear and everything, so I'm sitting there willy out, looking at Trevor Linden, and yeah, scarring for sure. Anyways, I kept that in my mind. I got him back though. We were about a year later, we're in Philadelphia in the underwear section. He was asking this lady for some help. I don't know why he needed help, but anyways, next thing you know, Willie's out and pants are on the floor, so I got him back. We were pretty competitive with each other, whether it was hockey, lacrosse, chess, foosball. We had some epic foosball games in the basement, or whatever. We were always competitive with each other. Story about how we're competitive was for his 50th birthday, we went down to Cuba together for a week, and he'd always told me about this shoulder injury that he had, and whatever, I forgot about it. And then we're in the pool one day, and he's like, "Oh, let's race it in the pool, and whoever wins is whatever, the champ." And so anyways, I get ready, he gets ready, we're all pumped up, and boom, we're off. And I get to the end of the pool, I look up both sides, no one's there, and I'm like, "Oh, I crushed this guy, like he's nowhere around." Anyway, so I started looking around for him to see how far behind he was, and I see him on the side of the pool, looking up the same way I just did, looking up to see like, "Oh, I won, I crushed him," like he's, anyways. He could only swim in circles because his shoulder was so screwed up, so he ended up on the side of the pool thinking that he was a champ. He also brought his competitiveness onto lacrosse. Lacrosse and hockey, any kind of sport, he always saw the bigger picture in sports, that sports was a microcosm to how the real world was. So he always tried to teach us lessons in sport that would help us in the real world afterwards. He created his 10 Commandments, which later turned into an acronym, Tralsapondo, which is over there, where he'd teach the kids just basically rules on how to live your life and how to carry yourself on the lacrosse floor or on the hockey rink. One of the most important things he taught us was to always leave the venue that we're at, whether it be the dressing room or like a picnic or whatever. We always left the place better than we found it. We always had to make sure we cleaned it up. If it was dirty when we got there, that didn't matter. It had to be clean when we left. That was one of his things he taught us, and I think he took that to heart because I think he left this world a better place than he found it. Thank you. We're doing the palm first, or?
Yeah, I'm gonna bring this prop back up that we have. Thanks for making use of it. Hi, I'm Shannon. I'm Dylan's little sister, Rob's daughter. So before I get started with whatever I'm going to try to say, this, I don't know if a lot of you recognize it, but it's been read at pretty much every funeral of anyone that knows MacDougall. It was my grandpa Max, so Dad's dad, Rhonda and Brendan, Elsie's dad, and he loved this poem so much. Roses just meant a lot to him. So my dad actually drew this of Grandpa Mac, and this hung up on the wall for a long time at my grandma's house, but Jade's gonna help me read it. Yeah, you go.
A black rose is for, right. A black rose is for darkness, not a single light to see.
A yellow rose is for new life and all that's meant to be.
A red rose is for loving someone close to you.
A white rose is for beginnings, mostly fresh and new.
A blue rose is for sorrow, for all the tears and pain.
A pink rose is for cheering up, for those who hate the rain.
But last of all, the purple rose, its color stands for hope.
For whenever we see darkness, it's the light that gives us hope. Good work. Keeping the tradition alive. Okay. I was up all night and trying to sort of figure out what I was going to say about our dad. So I kind of did a bunch of messy jots, and I'm probably just going to, I don't know, be all over the place, but we'll figure it out. I don't know, for my dad, he was just so, his brain never stopped working. It never stopped moving. Even when he was, nodding off every, hour or so in his power naps, it was because he was just thinking of how he could create something impactful, whether it was new lacrosse drills, advice over beer for a friend in need, custom art to honor someone, make them laugh, or comfort through a loss of a loved one. He just found joy through creating experiences for others. Nothing lit him up brighter than presenting his art, his heart through his art and giving a positive effect on another. Just nothing, if you ever saw my dad's face light up, you know exactly what I mean. People would say in passing that he was tough as nails, which he absolutely was. But also at the exact same time, he was the softest, most playful, most kind-hearted, fun-loving person I've ever known. You know, everybody has stuff happen in their lives, and my dad always taught me, like even through this experience, which I've tried to recreate, is this is his belief, because my dad would always find the laugh in something. It didn't matter. He would mourn for a moment, but if he could find the laugh in something, that was just him. I think that he passed that on to a lot of people, in that concept that we don't need to woe in our pain, we need to rise above it and find the good in what's left behind, right? He'd call it stinking thinking if he didn't, so. He saw the world through a different lens, and it was pretty wild, pretty infuriating sometimes, but it was mostly just the angle that a lot of us needed to see from, because it was really special and unique, and again, he always called it a paradigm shift, right? Always talked about it, and just the way everything kind of, he would do it all the time. Because it was when something needed to be changed, the angle needed to be adjusted for you to see differently, rather than just, sitting in it and sitting in your head. There was no time for that, really. His vice and his parenting were, for lack of a better term, unconventional. He taught us by instigating experience, rather than just sitting us down and having a good, old-fashioned, hearted talk about it. He would, as now, he had no way of getting that. I also didn't have a dime in my bank account, so I had nothing to lose. But I came downstairs, and my dad's sitting at the computer with a cigarette lit, and just working away on the computer. And I went downstairs, and I'm like, Dad, what are you doing? What are you doing? He's like, oh, hey, what's up? And wouldn't even take a drag of it, because didn't want to. But he got such a rise out of me, to the point where I'm backing him into a corner and being like, give me that, you're gonna kill yourself. What are you gonna do? What are you doing? He's like, that's weird. That's how I feel about you. And I kind of looked at him, I was like, oh shit. He found them. And then he pulled them out, and he said, he gave them to me, and he said, I want you to break them. I was like, okay. He's like, if you quit today, I'll quit today. Okay, let's do this together. And I didn't touch a cigarette for another few years, but it was just, he always did that kind of stuff where it was just the next level of making you understand where he's coming from. It's not just a lecture, it's you did this, understand the repercussions and how you're making other people feel about it, Also, with that being said, he was also just a beacon for, I don't know about everyone else, but for me, God, when I've been so down and out and so lost, my first thing was Dad. Gotta call Dad. And I was telling Brad a story about, so Mason, my boyfriend and I just opened a restaurant this year, and I was kind of freaking out because it's overwhelming and so stressful with COVID and everything. And I called him and I said, how am I gonna do this? I just feel like everyone's gonna know I'm a fraud. I'm gonna mess. It's too much. It's too every little thing is so overwhelming right now. And I moved out to Alberta. I drove out there 5 years ago and drove back. but Dad said, well, Shanny, you drove out to Alberta, right? And I said, yeah. And he's like, well, that's 32, 33 hours? And I said, yeah. And he's like, okay, did you drive at night? And I said, well, obviously I had to. And he said, okay, but how far ahead do your headlights see? And I was like, I don't know, 10 feet. He's like, exactly. Were you staring at Alberta the entire time you left from Toronto? Yeah, it does seem impossible, doesn't it? He's like, but you only went every 10 feet in front of you that the headlights can see. And that's how you have to treat this and anything that's overwhelming to you, because every 10 feet, you're gonna get anywhere. You're gonna get there. You don't look at the end. You look at every 10 feet in front of you and you just keep going. And I think about it a lot, because we did it. He just had such a way of expressing himself and just making you, it's weird, see the big picture, but see all the tiny intricacies too, and appreciate them. And Brad said, because Dad loved messing with people, he, I don't know if anyone has originals of Dad's, but if you want to go home and scour those, he hides little notes in them. He hides little symbols because he loves to see if people can figure it out. So It's a fun activity to do, I suppose. Let me just go over my notes a little bit more. Just got a couple more things to say, but first off, I do want to say that Sandy, you're a saint. My dad was a hard man to tame. He always marched to the beat of his own drum and was stubborn as a goat. And Sandy and Dad actually dated in high school for a little bit, and they found each other again in Toronto one day, and then ended up together for 10 years and had a home together and just got a cottage together. Me, Seal, the dog, and you gave my dad the best last 10 years of his life. And we all saw a change for the positive, and I thank you, and Dylan thanks you, our whole family thanks you, because everyone could see it. You made him glow, and I thank you for that. Thank you, and I'm sorry it was shorter, but thank you. I did just want to read one more thing, which I'm going to steal from this dad, sorry. Because Brad was asking, what do you want to say, till we meet again, or all that kind of stuff. It's not goodbye, it's see you later. And I just said to him, I haven't even said goodbye because he's not gone. It just looks different. He's everywhere. His art is everywhere. His teachings are everywhere. On the floor, like Dylan said, you leave the floor, and kids have that for life. Everybody has something from Rob for life, and I don't need to say bye because he's here. And that's why I did choose his poem for his brochure. And I really want you to think of this because he believed in this so from the bottom of his soul that you don't go away. Energy just doesn't dissipate. It has to go somewhere. I give you this one thought to keep. I am with you still, I do not sleep. I'm 1,000 winds that blow. I'm the diamond glints on the snow. I'm the sunlight on a ripened grain, and the gentle autumn rain. When you awaken in the morning's hush, I am the swift, uplifting rush of quiet birds in circled flight, and the soft stars that shine at night. Do not think of me as gone. I am with you still in each new dawn. I thank you all for being here, and just know that every single one of you was here because he loved you and he'd want you here. And again, like Dylan said, let's everyone, we all will mourn him, but he didn't do everything on this earth to be mourned. He did it to be celebrated, that. So let's just keep doing that. Thank you.
Thank you, Shannon. Good job. Thank you, Jade. Great job. Thanks, Dylan. Rob has certainly left an incredible legacy and an incredible passion for this community, his heart for kids, especially for kids to play sports, the way he had to work and save to be able to play himself. He was always so generous. And he would often donate registration fees and equipment just so every kid would have the opportunity to play. He had that natural ability to coach, as you heard in some of those stories, and the ability to turn a sports lesson into a life lesson. Today's a difficult day. It's a mixture of many things. Today's a time to say thank you for what Rob meant to you personally and for how his life has forever impacted yours. Rob loved you all deeply, and he would want you to know that above all things. And in remembering his life, there's much to be thankful for. I know you're truly grateful for knowing him and for the time you had with him and the memories you'll always carry with you. Today is the time to say goodbye. Or not goodbye, see you later. We're not saying see you later.
Yeah, see you around.
We'll say see you around. Okay, we'll go with that. We'll say see you around. Rob's departure from this world was unexpected, and I know most of you never got a chance to maybe say the things you might have liked to. But I'm confident that he knew in his heart all the things that you would want him to know. And may that be a comfort to us and help us today as we release him in our own hearts and minds. Today is a time to mourn. I've had the privilege of being able to sit with the family here this week, and as we talked, got to hear about who Rob was to all of you and to this family, and felt like I got to know him a bit. But in the midst of all these funny stories and memories, there was also just deep sadness that at what was now lost, what is now lost. And this is a loss, a difficult one. May we take the sadness that's in our hearts and grieve well, to support each other in our mourning, giving one another the grace to have good days or bad days, to cry for no reason sometimes. This is healthy and it's necessary. And the relationship that we've lost with Rob is worth grieving. Today's a time to reflect. As we've been sharing memories of Robert's life, we begin to reflect on what life itself is. And Rob's strength, his love for people, for helping the next generation, his work ethic, the joy he took in his coaching, his art, his friends and family, is a great example to all of us of a life done right. May we carry his example with us as we seek to discover our true purposes and live out our lives. Finally, today's a time to be together. Not just today, but tomorrow and next week, next month. These are times to come together and support each other. Whether it's on the phone or the computer, or around the dinner table, any journey through sadness requires others to walk that road with us. That's why we're here today, and why I hope you'll take time to gather together and talk and share more stories. I think you'll discover that the life of Rob MacDougall lives on in each of you. I know the family's going to host a celebration sometime in the spring. Just a chance to more casually, in a more relaxed way, come together and toast Rob and be together. So start thinking of those stories. You know, Rob, Shannon was sharing with me that Rob always thought that if he could come back as anything in this life, he would want to be a blue jay. The actual bird, not the baseball player. I had to ask Shannon that to make sure that this wasn't just a sports fantasy. No, it was a blue jay. There was something about them that just drew Rob in and captivated him. And so it's really kind of a symbol, I think, for this family of life, of Rob's life. And they can live on. And the next time you see a blue jay darting around, you can give a thought to Rob MacDougall. One of Rob's favorite songs was a song called Bulletproof by Blue Rodeo. And maybe you'll hear it in the mix on the playlist. But it's a song about someone who felt they had to be strong for everyone their whole life. But underneath, they wanted people to know that they were just human and just as vulnerable as everyone else. It's called Bulletproof, and the chorus says, "Well, it would be great to be so strong, never needed anybody else to get along. But we're so scared of the silence and the tricks that we use. We're careful and we're cunning, but we're easily bruised. But I don't want to lie about it. I'm not bulletproof." As we've spent these moments today, all these memories of Robert cause us to reflect, and we're reminded what a precious gift life is. Let's take a moment of silence now to remember Robert MacDougall and reflect on his life. Let's do that now. Now we release the life of Robert Duncan Creighton MacDougall. We say thank you to this dearly loved man, and see you around. Dear MacDougall family and friends, may you find joy and comfort in your memories and stories. May you find support and strength in your love for each other, and may you know the depths of love that Robert had for each of you. Peace be with you.
This concludes the services here in the chapel. There's just going to be a song that Shannon's going to cue up as you're gathering and making your way. You're welcome to visit together. Go again over to the other room and have a look at some of the artwork and things like that before you make your way out of the building. Thank you for your attendance today and the comfort it's been for the family. Yeah, no,
Tell me one more time again, just like I don't know what's going through your mind. You ain't the same game too. No, it's hard to stop, even when you want. How long nights of your face, I miss you.
Oh no, you're gonna